This is The Ramsey Show. You can be intentional about your character. You can have money and a career. You are the hero in your story.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studio, this is The Ramsey Show, where America hangs out to have a conversation about your life and your money. I'm John Deloney, joined here by best-selling author, Ramsey personality, and all-around good human being, Rachel Cruz. How are you?
Doing great, John.
Yeah,
Thanks.
family's good?
Yeah, we're good. Just surviving, you know?
For real?
Sort of thriving, too. It's
Sort of thrive?
Yeah, it's almost the weekend.
Can you sort of thrive?
It's almost the weekend.
Thrive sounds like a... Yeah, I don't know if you can sort of thrive. It is what it is.
We're there.
We're there. Very cool. Well, we are taking your calls on life and money and relationships and all of the things that we can help you with. Rachel's really smart, and I will help drive today. So give us a shout at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Let's go to Carlos in Tampa, Florida. Carlos, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you for taking my call.
You bet, man. Thanks for calling. What's up?
So I came from South America. I married my wife here in the United States. We have a baby, 5-month-old now, and now we're trying to figure out what to do next. Well, my plan was to get into a mortgage and get a house. I came with no debt, but my wife has an $80,000 in student loans, and right now we have enough to pay it off, and I'm talking about like $95,000, and the student loan is $80,000. But I'm trying to figure out if we should prioritize that instead of thinking about getting into a mortgage, and I'm just trying to get that advice from you guys.
Carlos, you're a stud, man. How did you guys accumulate $95,000?
Cybersecurity, man, IT. That made it. My wife worked hard. She said,
It's good.
You said it like it was like a scam. You were like, cybersecurity, bro. We got it. That's awesome, man.
Hey, those tech jobs, they're paying.
And she's an elementary school teacher as well, so
wow.
that also helps.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So
man.
great. Well, Carlos, number one, congrats on the baby. I know your life has just been turned upside down in all the most wonderful ways. So congrats. So our rule of thumb here when we talk about buying a home is that we say we want you completely out of debt and a 3 to 6 months worth of an emergency fund. So your expenses that total 3 to 6 months, have that saved in the bank. And then save up for a down payment from 10 to 20% for that down payment. So that's the tactical, the what. Now the why behind all of that is that you'll realize soon after you are in a home and own a home that home ownership is extremely expensive. Things happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, just the other day, our gutters screwed up. We had an ice storm in Nashville, and all of our gutters filled with ice. Half of them fell off the house. I mean, it's just
I had to get a new roof. We got it inspected, high-fived, and then 2 months later, we got to get a brand new roof.
Well, we went in the crawl space last weekend before a date, and an inch of water in the I mean, it's just stuff just happens when you own a home, and it's expensive. And so what ends up happening is a lot of people rush into home ownership because it's kind of the dream, right? Like you own a home, and it's exciting, and it's fun, but you have no money. You have debt, and you have no money. And people go in and end up that this house becomes a burden and a curse rather than the blessing that it should be. So Carlos, if I woke up in your shoes tomorrow, I'd write a check for the student loans. I get it out.
It's going to hurt, Carlos.
It's not fun, but listen, but it is fun because at the other end of it, though, you have no payments. You have nothing. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to bump the rest of that $15,000 up, depending on your expenses, save that and then save a little bit on the side. You guys are killing it for a down payment. Then I would buy a home because I promise if you go this route, even though it sounds just like this simple formula, you will move into that home, and when something comes up, it's more like an inconvenience than a complete crisis.
Right.
So
one question I had on that is, should we be waiting or trying to wait for loan forgiveness? You know that they're giving away some kind of forgiveness for teachers. Is that something I should be looking forward to?
Well, there's talk of student loan forgiveness from D.C., but
pieces of it, or
yes, but honestly, here's the thing about the legislation, all of that. Like, it's not like the president of the United States can just wave a wand and it happens. Like, there's a due process it has to go through to actually let that happen. And we don't know if it will, when it will. So in my mind, Carlos, I don't want to depend on Washington, D.C. to change my life or waiting on them to do things. I'm going to control what I can control. And right now you can control a lot. Like you yourself without DC can do a lot for your family. And not to get too political, but they promised stuff. I mean, if you remember 10, 12 years ago, they said if you went to school and took out loans, they would forgive those loans if you worked in a certain sector. Now, not happening.
Carlos,
so it's,
I had a ringside seat watching some of the most brilliant minds combined with some of the most extraordinary young men and women who went to law school. And I was an administrator at law school, and many of them chose to go into the public sector to help the least of these in our communities because of the public forgiveness program. And then it was year 6, year 7 after practicing when suddenly they would apply to have these loans forgiven, and they were either just completely ignored or rejected, right?
Right.
And here's the other part, Carlos, and this is just me. I'm a guy who signed up for a bunch of loans. We got too many degrees in our house between me and my wife. We signed up for a bunch of loans. We didn't know what we were doing, but we did. We saw the numbers. They just weren't real, and we something like, well, that's a problem for future Don to handle. I have a integrity. I've got an ethical issue in my soul. I told somebody, I'm going to pay you back if you help me get through school. You guys, Carlos, y'all are of means. Y'all have figured it out. Y'all have worked really hard, and you've got this money here. For me, it's a matter of, we don't need to wait on the government. We're not going to wait on the government. They may or may not, who knows? And it's going to come with strings. You got to have, public service, all this other stuff. You guys have worked hard. You told somebody, hey, if you give us this money, we're going to pay you back. Pay them back. Yeah. Pay them back, and then be done with it. Wipe your hands of it. You'll have, in a few months, you'll save up that emergency fund, and then it's off to the races on getting that dream house.
I think that's a great point, too. And, just to applaud you, Carlos, you guys are killed. He's from, what do you say, Costa Rica?
From, South America, is that right?
South America, yeah. Came in, killed it. You're doing amazing, Carlos, and you guys can do this.
You can do it.
You can do it. The numbers are here, and you're only going to go up from here. That's the exciting part is, like you said, you have the meat, it's there because you did what was right.
You did what's right.
So hope that helps, Carlos.
And probably more important than that call is this. You mentioned in that last call, right before a date, y'all were hanging out in the crawl space. I have to explore this with you.
No, we can go here. It's not that interesting. No, Winston.
My dates are different. Me and Sheila's dates are different. We don't start in the attic.
Winston has a crawl space that's like his man room, down under the house, where his tool bench is, the shock vat,
in the crawl space.
Well, they say crawl space. You can stand up in it.
Okay.
So I guess it's technically
the stand
not
space.
The stand space.
The basement.
Mouse traps down there. No, it's not a basement because it doesn't have heating and air and all of that. Anyways, it's not that interesting. Anyways, he went down to check on a mouse trap, if you really want to know, because there were mice down there, and he was going to see how his mouse trap went. Inch of water. So you got to go get.
I love learning about my friends' marriages because they're so different than mine.
Our reservations are in 30 minutes. He's like, I got to go get a pump. And I was like, oh,
sounds like the beginning of a classic rom-com to me.
This is a classic rom-com. Hey, we got a date. Everybody, let's head down to the crawl space.
It's called I don't know.
Money and relationships, 888-825-5225. Give us a shout, and we will walk along with you. Glad you're with us. This is The Ramsey Show.
What makes our show unique is that we genuinely care about our listeners. We're intentional about choosing the best advertisers to recommend. Blinds.com is no exception. They offer high-quality window treatments at unbelievable prices. And they make it simple to shop blinds, shades, and interior shutters with easy online ordering, free shipping, and a guaranteed perfect fit. Go to Blinds.com and take advantage of this week's special savings.
This is The Ramsey Show. I'm John Deloney, joined here by best-selling author and good friend Rachel Cruz, and we are taking your calls on life and money. 888-825-5225. 888-825-5225. The board's lit up, and Kelly's waiting for your call. Let's go to Adam in Syracuse, New York. Adam, what's going on?
Oh, not much, Dr. D. Just getting back from work. Calling because I was wondering how to get my wife on board with everything that Dave says. I've been doing the program since late January, and I got about $40,000 in debt, not including her vehicle. With her vehicle, it'd be about $55,000. And I just want to change my family tree and be able to purchase our first home by next year.
Oh, man, well, I appreciate your heart, dude, and congratulations on turning this first corner here. Rachel, you've heard this question for years and years talking with couples.
Yeah. So, Adam, what's her biggest hesitation? What causes her not to want to get on board?
Well, she works full-time as a nurse at the VA, and she's also going to school for her RN, and I think she's really focused on that, which I'm super proud of her for. But I really don't know her hesitation. When I first mentioned Dave to her, she got online and read some negative reviews, and I'm like,
those are out there for all of us.
Yeah. I'm like, believe what you want to believe. I go, this guy is making absolute sense to me, and I'm with it. It's just hard to do it by yourself.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost impossible to do it by yourself if two of you are not on the same page. Okay, so it doesn't sound like she is, because I talked to some people and the spouse is like, oh, I don't want to budget because I just want to have fun and not be accountable. Or some people say, I just want to continue to do what I do because I deserve it. Like there's kind of some entitlement issues that I hear a lot, but I don't hear that from her. I just hear that she's skeptical of the process. So,
right. I mean, she's the saver and I'm the spender, and I limit myself on everything now. So
go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask. I mean, I wonder if it just sounds like a really big thing to bite off for her, because she has all these other things she's doing and she's thinking, oh, this thing is going to take over. But what you both have to understand is that, yes, when we say work as a married couple, you definitely work together, but one of you naturally is probably going to do more and be more excited than the other. Like Winston, he's the nerd in our relationship. Like he's the one that honestly does the Excel. We do every dollar for our monthly, but he has an Excel thing to map out the future. And he always wants to talk. He'll want to talk about it. I'm the one that's like, kind of want to watch The Bachelor. Like, I don't that doesn't mean I'm not on board, but I'm not as excited as he is, or he's the one that pays all of our bills. He does it all, even though I know what's being paid and we're on the same page. So for her, you just need her to, you guys come together and agree, hey, we want to start this process. But the heavy lifting of the tactical day-to-day can honestly come from you, Adam, and that's okay from our perspective.
Adam, how'd you bring it up to her?
We were laying in bed one night talking.
Yeah, that's your problem right there.
Stop, are you serious? I was like,
okay, so
it's great.
You're laying in bed, you roll over, and you flutter your eyelashes at her, and she flutters her eyelashes back at you, and you say, baby, have I got a deal for you? Is that how that went?
Yeah, kind of.
Come on, man. You got to be more smooth than that. How long have you been married?
11.
11 years?
We've been together, 11 years.
Oh, Adam. Man. Okay, so a couple things that you said that I want to make sure. Are you a schemer? Have you always had some things? Are you the guy who brings good ideas? She's a saver. She's a nurse. She's working in hospital. Like
she's predictable. Are you predictable?
It happen. Yeah. Are you the guy with like, hey, listen?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think I am.
So when you first called, you talked about her car payment, your debt. Mm-hmm. And so what I would tell you is you guys have a pronoun problem. And what I mean is if you have a you and a her in a marriage, and then the you is coming to the I'm sorry, you're not married. Y'all are just together. Okay. Y'all been together for 11 years?
Yeah, we have 2 children together, and we've been together for 11 years.
Okay. So if you haven't committed, right? If y'all are just riding this out together in a committed relationship.
Why aren't y'all married? Can I ask?
Yeah, you can ask.
I think she's afraid of commitment.
Is she afraid of? She's with you for a decade,
11
brother.
years.
Sounds like she's afraid of you.
That could be. That very well could be.
Adam, you know the truth. Is that real? Is that real?
Honestly, I don't know, but you're probably right on the money.
So here's what I would suggest, brother. I would suggest sitting down with her and talking about what's the future going to look like. When you have 2 kids, when you're not married, when you've been together for a decade, suddenly the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months, and suddenly you've been together 3 years and 5 years, and we'll think about this later, and suddenly the future starts to happen in front of you. And that's when one of you peels off to go back to school to start trying to create their own future, because we're clearly not on the same page. I've got mine, you've got yours. I'm going to go make some more money for me so I can get a different car for me. And suddenly you're going to wake up and you're both going to be sitting on a couch and you're going to be 2 inches apart from each other. You're going to be 2,000 miles away from one another. And coming in with something like this program, which is we've got to work super close together, not close together. We have to be one on this deal because it's hard and it is back and forth and months on top of months. And suddenly you wake up and you're a united couple and you're 2 or 3 years down the road and you have this entire new trajectory. So when you talk about wanting to change your family tree, right now you got 2 plants in the same house. So at first you got to do is you got to decide we're going to have one tree. We're going to do this one thing together. Mm-hmm. And we're going to raise these kids in a certain way. We're going to build a future together. And a part of building that future together, Rachel, is we're going to do money together, right? So your heart is right, Adam. Your spirit is right. Your ideas are right, but they're just out of order right now. And the first thing you got to do is to circle back to this extraordinary woman you've created a life with for the last decade plus and say, hey, let's make this a unified thing moving forward, right?
For sure. And the richness that comes from that. So not just the commitment to say we're going to get married, not just the commitment that we're going to work together with our money, not just the commitment that we're going to do parenting together well, like that whole life that you're bringing together. It's almost like all these separate puzzle pieces and you start to bring it together and it is a beautiful thing. While I feel like people dog marriage.
It's stable, right?
Yes, there's something about it that the richness of your life, it increases because there's a level of vulnerability and unity that you've never experienced before to say, hey, we're going to be in this together. And it's something that I feel like is it enhances your life.
And there's something about being tethered in, being anchored in, not even tethered,
knowing
being
that
anchored in. Yeah. And I'm going to fall off this mountain sometimes, but I'm not going to die. Right? I may bang up the side of it, but I'm anchored into something, right?
Yeah.
And somebody may shove me off. She may shove me off, but we are anchored in here, right? And it's circling back to we got to be on the same page, working together. How hard is it? So you guys, how long have y'all been married?
11.
11 years,
11
okay.
Years.
There's a myth that all of a sudden you wake up one day and you figured it out. And there's no more discussions, no more eye rolls, no more whatever when it comes to budgets.
Right.
That's not true, right?
No. I mean, I think the logistical side of the budget goes pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Like the budget meeting, quote unquote, like we'll talk when we do it. And it sounds like, oh, of course she does. But we really, really do.
Yeah. Before
the month begins, we sit down. We're like, hey, let's look at March. Okay, well, we're going to the beach this week on spring break. We're going to do this and this. And you start kind of mapping out. And so all of that takes 8 to 10 minutes. Like we do that fast. But it's the other parts of being known by each other in a deep way, because money it reveals a lot of who you are. And so working that closely with your spouse, it can create some moments where you're like, oh, I mean, I'll be honest, like I love Amazon right now. I know people hate Amazon, but I'm like, I can't stop. And it's under his, like he created the account years ago whenever we got Prime. And so we obviously just share the account, but I know every time I buy something, he gets a notification. I'm always like, even though it's in the budget and I know it, I'm the spender and he's the saver. So even those things, and I'm like, hey, just heads up, I'm getting a new pan because our nonstick is
we really need in the house. And we need a new pan.
But it just creates the conversation.
That's right.
Which is what I love. So
for those of you out there who are 3 years in, 5 years in, it does get easier, it gets more routine, but it always brings you back to a conversation.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
We had one at Tractor Supply this weekend, me and my wife.
And we'll hear about that coming up next. America.
We won't. This is The Ramsey Show. This is The Ramsey Show, 888-825-5225. I'm John Deloney, joined here by Rachel Cruz. And it looks like on the debt-free stage, we've got a beautiful couple. We've got Jared and Stephanie from Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I think I know what this means. How are you two good folks?
We're doing great. How are you guys doing today?
Outstanding, outstanding.
So good.
All right, so tell us about Las Cruces.
Las Cruces is a wonderful community that is about 1,400 miles away. We drove all the way here.
You
come see
drove
guys.
all the way here.
Yeah.
How long did that take you?
It's 20 hours. We broke it up in a couple of days, though.
Good for you.
It was his birthday on Monday, so this is his present.
Oh, for your debt-free scream
Yeah.
to be your present. I love it.
Very
I love
cool.
It.
And so you're here to do your debt-free scream. How much have you paid off?
We paid off $140,466.
$140,466. And how long did it take you?
15 months.
Whoa. Did you sell a house?
Nope. We get to own a house.
You just crushed it. Okay, so how much? What was your income? What was your range of income during this time?
So we started at $188,403, and we increased it to about $206,512. $206,512.
Are you the nerd?
I am the nerd.
I'm hearing all these very specific dollars. I was like, man, I'd be rounding up. Good for you. Good for you.
So 188 to 206. That's still a lot of money to pay off in a year. That means you are making an extraordinary income, and you're still doing rice and beans, right?
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, we both work in healthcare, and this last year there was all kinds of work to be done anyway, so we were able to pick up shifts and work extra wherever that may be. I mean, Stephanie is a nurse in the ICU, so I mean, she picked up an extra 12-hour shift for about 20 weeks, I'd say.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for your work, though.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
So take us back 15 months. What in the world happened?
So I'll take it back a couple years ago. I mean, about 3 years ago, I'm a pharmacist, and I was doing a pharmacy rotation through the rural area parts of New Mexico, and a part of that was I got to stay with my uncle during one of those rotations, and he was well into Dave Ramsey stuff, and he knew that I had a large chunk of change to pay off with the Sallie Mae loan, and he's like, have you ever really thought about what you're gonna do at that point? And I really kind of brushed him by for that moment, my Uncle John, and I picked up Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover, and about maybe 6 months after that, and I was absolutely hooked right away, man. That book was fire, man. It was just incredible, and so about 2 years ago, my wife and I at that time were not quite married yet, but I had mentioned to her kind of the stuff that I've been reading into, and I was kind of not wholly going into paying off the debt because, I mean, I was still learning what that was about, and she initially was not on page, but we got married, and we both put our bank accounts together and just were on fire from there,
So this sounds like the start of a joke. A pharmacist sits down to explain something to a nurse, right? How did that conversation go where you rolled your eyes and you were like, no?
There was a little bit of eye rolling, but we had a few road trips to Albuquerque where we listened to the Dave Ramsey Show together, and then I was kind of hooked after that because I got to hear it for myself. But a couple days after we got married, Jaron took me to my bank and used all of our wedding gift money, and we paid off my credit card. So that was kind of my introduction to what our marriage was going to be like.
All that money that we got from the wedding was just sent away, and she just was like, eek! I can't believe it.
So how does it feel now? Because you guys started marriage, this whole new way of looking at money. I mean, you did it all at the same time. So now you're on this side of it. You've been married a little over a year. You're debt free.
It was just a crazy time. We were dealing with the pandemic like everyone else, trying to figure that out. Working as a nurse through that was difficult. And then we were trying to figure out budgeting for the first time, figuring out marriage for the first time. So it was a lot of firsts for us, and it was difficult, but we definitely praise God for all the support that He's given us.
Absolutely.
And this was all Him. That's all that's what we wanted to say when we came here.
That's why she was working 12-hour shifts. It's like, I'm good. I'll be out. I'm going to go do this. So what kind of debt was this? This was obviously pharmacy school is really expensive, so student loans. What else?
My student loan, because I had gotten out of nursing school a while before that, but I was just paying the minimum payments. I thought I would never be out of debt. That was my mindset until Jaren kind of showed me that we could do something different. So.
And then a little credit card.
Yeah,
in
just
between.
a little credit card.
Yeah.
Mostly selling.
That the wedding gifts took over. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys, the beautiful thing about your story is that you're starting all of this together. Where we talked to some couples, we just took a call last segment, right? And they're together, but they're not working together, and they've already created these kind of money habits in their own lane. So you guys started from the beginning. So what encouragement do you have for couples that are dating, maybe they're engaged, to get on the same page? Like, how important is it, do you think, to be one in the subject when you get married?
Absolutely. I mean, I could not have done this without Stephanie. You know, this was all kind of something that I had brought to her attention. But if it had been just me and not her, I mean, there's always that wedge that's always going to be there, and that is something that we didn't want for our marriage. We wanted to go into our marriage knowing that that we don't have to worry about the money issue as an issue. If we kept our bank accounts separate, it would have been a little bit more, there's more of a chance of it to cause an issue or trouble. I mean, you guys know the rates of divorce. I mean, that's not something that we wanted to be in our marriage, and we knew what
it did. Yeah, no, it's right. No, you're exactly right. And two, last question with marriage, because I think we did a thing, money and marriage. So this is always fascinating. I love talking to married couples about it, because would you say your marriage is stronger now than it would have been?
Yes.
I think that the most important thing, a part of this is, I mean, there's a whole grind that goes about being able to pay off this debt, and I absolutely lean on Stephanie and a lot of the things that we were able to do, but God, oh my gosh, like there's times that, you're just watching your paycheck go straight towards the government. And we're living on much less than what even Stephanie made. And it's hard. It's incredibly hard. It's just sometimes it's unthinkable. Like why can't we, go out to eat like we used to? That's something we really enjoy. And, but I mean, when you give it to God, when you just absolutely just let him help you handle your finances, because we are his managers, it's his money, it does get you over that hill, and it's just that extra boost and that extra stone to lean on, because he's just always there for you.
Awesome.
And I just want to add,
of course,
it just runs over into every other aspect of your life. So I started kind of budgeting with food, because overeating is an easy thing to do. And I was able to lose 20 pounds during this.
Wow.
So, and then, of course, we started budgeting our time with God more. Like, we need to make sure that we're always spending time with God every day. And so that's something that we do now, too. And we have grown closer to God, to each other, become stronger people.
Spiritually,
it affects it all.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, this finance has nothing to do with it, but we've also grown spiritually because of our decision to
the
go
discipline,
with this.
right? Discipline in one area, it does, it trickles through. That's awesome. Well, I'm ready.
So
I can't wait for y'all. I'm so
paid off $140,466 in 15 months, making between $188,000 to $206,000. A better marriage, better health, better spiritual life. Man, they did it. Jaren and Stephanie, when you're ready.
Count it down. Let's hear it.
3, 2, 1.
All glory to God.
We're debt free!
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Incredible.
Can you imagine driving up to get your medication, and your pharmacist drives up in an 85 Camry, and you think, what are you doing? And he says, I'm changing everything, man. How cool is that?
Doing it all. And that's what I love, too, because you sometimes hear about these high-paying jobs and these these high earners, and they're just living that. They're living to the very top of what they make. And
they're living in fantasy, right?
And they said, you know what, we're going to scale down.
For 1 year?
For a year, for 15 months. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
15 months, and everything is different now.
What a great couple, yeah.
No more 12-hour shifts. This is going to be fun for them. Thank you for joining us. This is The Ramsey Show. The Ramsey Show. I'm John Deloney, joined here with Rachel Cruz, and we are taking your calls on money and life. 888-825-5225. 888-825-5225. Let's go to Mark in Washington, D.C. Mark, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Feel fortunate to be able to talk to you, and actually feel fortunate about the situation I'm in, but first time in my life having a little bit of extra money is causing me some stress as well, so it's not all roses.
There you go.
Hey, this is a good call to take. So what's up, man?
It's a good call. Here's the picture. I'm 44, hoping to retire at 60. I'm a wife and 2 kids, 8 and 10. About $100,000 in the bank, $700,000 in retirement, 401k, SEP IRA, HSA brokerage, that kind of thing. I have a pretty good income. Over the past couple of years, it's pretty much tripled.
Wow.
About $350 to $450. Yeah. Just changed jobs, still in the same profession, but
what do you do, man?
Just a better compensation. I'm a surgeon.
Okay. So you don't mess around,
yeah.
huh?
I was hoping to get on the radio soon because I have a case at 4 o'clock, but we're good. I have a small case. I'm going to be on time, so it's okay.
You're replacing a knee as we talk, man. You're a talented guy, Mark. So what's up?
So anyway, the only debt I have, med school, and I've been reluctant to pay it down. It's at 1.75%. Started out about $200,000. I got $120 left.
Okay.
Mortgage, house is about 1.1 and down to $550 on that. Refinanced recently about 2.25%. That's my only debt. No credit cards, no cars, nothing like that.
Okay.
So, recently I came across a bonus from work for 2020. As the last couple mentioned, 2020, terrible in general, but for healthcare workers, it did give us an opportunity to earn a little bit more.
Sure.
So I came across a work bonus, about $169,000.
Yep.
And where I'm struggling, and I'm not trying to say I'm in a terrible situation, but I have bouncing around in my head, how much do I keep in the bank? I've never started at 529. How much should I put in at 529? Do I do a 457B? Dump it all into a brokerage account? Do I look at long-term care? So I'm in that position, and I just sort of can't figure out what to do.
You got it, man. Well, thank you so much. Number one, you keep using very passive language. You just we're walking on the street and stumbled into a bonus. My guess is you worked your butt off in some really scary situations. You were there when people were hurting, and you earned that bonus. And I'm grateful for all the work you have done, and I'm grateful for your wife holding things together while you've been working like bananas this year. So
yeah.
You earned the bonus
For sure.
So I have worked behind closed doors with doctors with their coaching folks through mental health challenges, through relationship challenges and whatnot. And I'll tell you something that's always been a mystery to me is the love affair between a doctor, a medical practitioner, and their student loans. You guys love them. You love to hang on to them and pet them and sing to them as though y'all are in love. And here's what I think it is. I've got one person that I work with now whose kids are in college. Still has his student loans, right? Loves them deep in his heart, right? And I give him a hard time about it, but it comes down, I think, to looking at this as a math problem instead of a psychology problem. And so if I'm you, and Rachel, hop in here.
Yeah, sure.
I would take that $165,000 and I would pay off my med school before the day is over today. I'd pay it off. I would be free from all of that, and then I would start considering going down the rabbit hole, getting my house paid off, and then moving forward there.
And kids' college. Yeah, I was going to ask, Mark, what causes you? Do you relate to what John just said? But what causes you to keep the 120 around?
Yeah. So, it's just the leverage of the 1.75%. I have this challenge, in my life to meet somebody that has a lower interest rate on their student debt.
Yeah.
And I haven't come across that person yet.
Yeah.
I'm out of med school about 20 years, 30-year loans, but I just feel like I can beat that rate. It doesn't weigh on me, having that burden. It really doesn't. My wife's totally fine with it. I just feel like I can beat that rate.
Yes.
Beat that return.
So I think that, like you're saying, you're hitting on the math stuff and you don't feel like it's weighing on you and all that. And you're in a great position. So honestly, you're not losing sleep at night over this thing. You're not mathematically, because it's a small percentage of everything you have. But I would tell you, Mark, if you paid it off today and you woke up tomorrow, I guarantee you there is a level within you, spiritually, emotionally, all of it, that just is going to
exhale.
Just a little bit. You may not even realize it because you've been hanging on to it for so long. So what we teach is getting completely out of debt, first and foremost. And so that would mean, yes, just going and paying it off, just getting it out of the way. You have cash in the bank. Earlier in the call, I wrote it down. You have $100,000. What was the $100,000 at the very beginning of the call? Is that cash that you have? I know you have $700 in retirement.
Yeah, your $100,000 just sitting in a savings.
Yes, that's great. Okay, so I want you guys to get and see how much is 6 months worth of living of expenses for you guys. You're in DC, so it's probably going to be a little bit higher dollar amount than someone living in Iowa. Figure it out what your lifestyle is and keep that. So maybe it's that, maybe it's a less, a little more. I don't know. So put that aside. Keep that just boring in a boring money market account, boring savings account, because that's going to be your liquid emergency fund if something happens. Then I would start to look at your kids' college, and their ages again are what?
10 and 8.
10 and 8. So I would set up, yes. So you may not even qualify because of your income for an ESA. So you may want to look at a 529 plan and start putting some money away for their college. I think would be the next best step to look at. And then at the same time, be funding retirement and throw an extra at that house. And because you have your house halfway paid off, which is amazing. So, I mean, you have like we said, an incredible situation, Mark, and I think you can make a lot of ground financially if you just stay focused. You're doing a couple of things here and there. It's kind of all over, but if you just make these steps and you guys do them, you're going to find progress financially so much faster, I think, than you have.
Mark, what kind of surgeon are you?
A cancer surgeon.
Cancer surgeon.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
And so are you on the front end, or are you more in stage 4 acute care?
Well, actually both. As a surgical oncologist, probably about 60% of the surgeries we do, the final diagnosis is actually not cancer.
Right.
So, there's people that get referred to us. So I'm on the front end, but I'm also, an everyday sort of surgeon, working in the office, working in the OR.
So was there a early on, especially March of 2020, April, May, the folks in my sphere, just my buddies and folks that I am connected to, man, they puckered up the elective surgeries overnight, right? And there was some folks that were really scratching their heads about, man, if we don't open up some of these low-level things, the whole hospital system rolls over because so much of our income is based on, come on in. Was that your case too?
So it's really interesting, right? So we shut down for 6 weeks in April and May. The health system, I work for a health system, publicly announced they were losing about $100 million a month due to the elective surgery crisis. So there were places crumbling, sure. And we were concerned about, obviously, the health system, the patients we take care of, our own livelihoods. But I don't know if you're seeing this in your sphere, but what I have seen is now that people are home, people want their elective surgeries because they don't have to miss work. So I did more surgeries in 2020, even with shutting down for 6 weeks, than I ever had done any other year in my career. And that trend is continuing.
Yes, very cool. So here was where I was aiming, and it rebounded really well for you, which is excellent. The folks that I talked to on the front end of this deal really got scared because they thought that elective surgery world was over. And here's what I'm getting at. Even if you have this low interest rate, and yes, man, you can sit there and give me a spreadsheet and make the math work. And as a surgical oncologist, that's what you do.
In your head, probably.
Nobody knows risk like you do. Nobody can sit down and say, here's probability. I'm going to be I'm going to walk into this room, and I'm going to make sure somebody stays alive to tomorrow. That's an extraordinary power, for lack of better terms. But I want you to go back to, if you've got no payments, you've got no debt, you've got no stress, if elective surgeries shut off, then you can be all about how do I help other people, not how do I keep from falling apart. Thank you so much, Mark, for your service and for your care, man. We love you. This has been The Ramsey Show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back soon right here.
have a friend or family member that needs a daily dose of Ramsey advice in their life? Let them know about the Ramsey Call of the Day podcast. It's a quick hit of advice about life and money in under 10 minutes. Check out the Ramsey Call of the Day podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. This is The Ramsey Show. You can be intentional about your character. You can have money and a career. You are the hero in your story.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studio, this is The Ramsey Show, where America hangs out to have a conversation about your money and your life. I am John Deloney, joined here by best-selling author and good human being Rachel Cruz, and we are taking your calls on life and on money. 888-825-5225. 888-825-5225. Rachel, how are your little ones doing?
They're doing great. Just, man, 5, 3, and 1.
5, 3, and 1.
Yes.
And I've got almost 11 and 5.
You spaced them out well.
I feel like I have 1,000 people in my home, and you have 1.5 million.
Oh, it's
There's a human everywhere.
A human everywhere, and one's crying always. But it's great, you know? It's great. It is funny, though. I'm like, there's some days, I'm sure every parent feels like this, where you're like, man, that was that was a good day. And then some days you think, what did we do? What are we doing? What are we doing?
The random thing that my wife will say, she'll walk through the house and she'll just quietly toss away, remember when we used to think we were busy?
I know.
Remember we used to think we were tired? Remember that? And she'll just keep walking through the next room. It's so great.
I laugh all the time, though, because I remember so specifically, it's like so in my head. We had this lady in college who mentored a group of us, and where we'd go to her house and we'd talk, and we'd just be like, oh my God, I'm so stressed, Elizabeth. I have 3 exams this week. I'm like, God, I have neck. And she had 4 kids. I look back and I'm like, her husband worked a lot. I'm like,
I just want to call her.
She probably thought, you have no idea.
No idea.
You have no idea.
When I told my dad, I called him and said, hey, listen, you're going to be a granddad. There was no fireworks. There was no, oh, my son. His first response was, well, you're never going to sleep again. And I remember thinking, that was kind of deflating, man. That was the most prophetic thing I think my dad ever told me, man.
Well, you have good kids, though. Y'all came over a few weekends ago and had dinner with us.
Yeah,
and yours,
they're great.
Hank,
he's awesome.
They're both wonderful. But Hank is just the sweet. Talking to Charles, our 16-month-old little boy. Oh, he was like, can I feed him? Winston was taking him out to bed. He was like, do you need any help, Winston?
So listen, in the car right before we came in your house, we said, listen, guys.
So sweet.
To our 2 kids. Don't screw this up for us. For every kind thing you do, we're gonna give you Fruit Loops and whatever sugary.
We're gonna give you money.
Yeah, we're gonna pay you, kids.
Pay you to be nice.
And my son was like, Dad, let's just do it because it's right. And my daughter was like, sweet, how much? It's awesome. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Erica in Houston. What's up, Erica?
Hi, Dr. John and Rachel. I'm so grateful to be talking to y'all.
And we're grateful that you called. What's up?
Well, I have what I would consider a good problem. My business has been extremely busy lately. I own a couples therapy private practice.
I can imagine so. Yes.
Exactly. And so I know it's time for me to expand into adding some more therapists to come work for me that I would train under me. And right now I have 2 interns. But I am still seeing about 80% of the revenue comes from the services that I offer. Mm-hmm. So I've been having some trouble finding somebody to hire. And now I've kind of, I'll call myself out. I've had some really bad boundaries. I've just started taking on more and more clients myself. And I find myself with low energy to be able to really do much else other than to see my clients and write my notes and supervise my interns, and that's about it. And so
why do you feel like you have to expand your business? Sounds like you love counseling other people.
I do. I also love supervising, and I have another business I would like to start that would be separate. And so I would like some energy and time to be able to give to that and not so much into the clinical work. Although I'd still like to maintain clinical work.
Gotcha.
Well, I was going to point to you, John, because you were in this world.
Yeah. What I find with therapists is you get to a point where it's exhausting, right, Erica? You see clients 8 hours a day, and it's at weird hours, and it's one of those things where if you stop and just like, hey, I'm going to go home tonight and have dinner and watch a TV show, there's that part in your brain that says, well, that was $100, right? You can always be working, always moving. And then the next conversation is, what's passive income look like? Are we going to write a book? And then you realize there's not a lot of money in books, and I want to create a curriculum, and I want to start working. So you just start expanding. So why do you want to expand things? Do you want more money? Do you want more reach to help more people? What's your goal here?
I think it's two of those things. I do want more reach to help more people and be able to offer a variety of services so that we can treat more people across the community. And then my other business is also focused on mental health, so minimalism and mental health. And I'm going to need some time and energy to be able to put into creating that content to be able to put that out into the world, which would also help more people.
Gotcha.
Are you able to let other people do their job under your umbrella differently than you do it, but still effectively?
Yes, I've been working on that. I did hire a virtual assistant not too long ago, and so I think that's given me some muscles in that, although that is difficult for me.
And I would say too, Erica, and you can probably speak into this, John, because you're specific. My brother-in-law, he's a therapist, and has a wait list, all of that. I mean, like it's insane. But people come to see him, not a practice necessarily, right? They want him. So how much of your clientele, Erica, would be okay to go see someone else? Like the percentage in that, because I know that therapy, it's such a personal thing, right? You that people want to see you. I know that's why you're so good. What would it look like to bring on, say, those 2 interns, but you make them full time? Do you think you'll still have the same amount of business? Will your clients feel comfortable going to someone else?
We've seen some trends in that. So there's still obviously more people calling for me. Once they learn that the other people are trained under me, most clients are pretty open
they can do
to
that.
it.
That's great.
That transfer of trust there.
Yep, perfect.
So here's what I'd recommend, Erica. I would recommend, I just have experienced this with my buddies who are therapists. They get so excited, and then they go to a training, and it always comes at a time when they're exhausted from their day practice, right? They're just hearing the same married couple fights over and over, and they know what they're doing, and they're good at it. In fact, they're excellent at it. They're getting the same calls, and they go to a training, and they experience something new. And they're like, I want to do this with this group of people, and I could crank out this business, and I could hire these people. And then you get a napkin somewhere in a restaurant, and you map it out, and you realize, oh, we could make this much money and help this many people. And then you start, as our friend Ken Coleman says, you jump off the dock before the boat's all the way up, right? And so I'm going to do 2 things. One, we're going to give you a copy of our friend Christy Wright's Business Boutique, which is going to give you some actual – it's going to help you walk through the steps of starting a new business, right? You know how to run a business. You're running a successful one, but right now the business is you. And so how do you step away from this business and then come up with, how do I hire? How do I train? How do I do payroll? How do I do HR? How do I do training? How do I do marketing? All of these things while also keeping the practice going. And the second thing is, I want you to take some time to, I don't want to sound so cheesy, I want you to take some time to dream and actually paint a picture of what this is going to look like, right? Yeah. What would a Friday afternoon look like for you if your real business is running, your supervision business is running, you've got a group of counselors trained underneath you, and then you're going to have to reverse engineer that back. And what do you have to start doing right now to begin to build that practice? And then you're going to have to work on those boundaries, and you're probably going to have to see one of your buddies to help you with that one, Erica, because that one's a challenge for all of us who love helping other people. But I appreciate your question. And Houston needs more therapists. I'm glad you're there. Don't give up on it. Hang on the line, and Kelly will get you that book. Stay tuned. This is The Ramsey Show.
You know, healthcare has gotten to be ridiculous. It puts people, on the brink, and so it would have put us on the brink had we not had CHM. CHM saved our life, saved our financial lives.
Christian Healthcare Ministries, or CHM, is not health insurance, but it is a budget-friendly option and the original health cost-sharing ministry for Christians. Learn more today and check us out at chministries.org. That's chministries.org.
888-825-5225. Taking your calls on money and life here on the Ramsey Show. Let's go out to Charlottesville, Virginia, and talk to Logan. What's up, Logan? How are we doing?
Hey, John. Hey, Rachel. How you guys doing?
Good. What's up?
So little debate here between my fiance and I.
Oh, you're going to drag us into it, huh?
We'll be the tiebreakers.
Absolutely. So we're getting married on May 30th, so coming up pretty soon.
Congrats.
And we recently started FPU. We're feeling pretty good about it, pretty gazelle intense between the two of us right now. We're working 7 jobs in 2 weeks, went from $11,000 in debt to $2,800. So
way to go,
man!
Working pretty hard with
Killing
that.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. So, and I know this is a little farther down the line, but one of our goals is to purchase a house with cash within the next 10 years or so. However, I was thinking about it, and I think so. What she wants to do is just save up after we get done with baby step 3, go into 3B, and save up specifically for the house. However, I think because of how young we are, I think it would be more beneficial to use that time to open up a Roth IRA and max that out at $6,000 every year, and then what's left over after investing into that, put into either a money market or a mutual fund to save for a large down payment on the house. Because right now I'm 19 and she's 20, so the yield on that would be a lot bigger if we start earlier.
Sure. So the debate is save up and pay cash right away for the house, or not right away. It'll take years to save, obviously. Or go ahead and take out a mortgage and continue on. That's the debate, right? Save up and pay cash?
Well, no, either way, we'd be purchasing the house at the same time. It would just be, do we want to spend these 9-10 years before we buy just saving for the house, or should we invest into retirement and then what's left over after investing every year, put that into a savings for a large down payment on the house?
But you're saying down payment. When you put a down payment, you're taking out a mortgage, though, so it's not cash.
Right. I'm sorry, not. I thought you were saying buy now, but no,
okay.
It'd be the same time. But yes.
Okay. Let me make sure I'm understanding this. I'm sorry, Logan. Why am I?
So do you take? Let's say there's $100,000. Do you take 50 of that and start investing it now?
Do you have $100,000 though, Logan? Like where
no,
you
I'm
guys
just making that up.
Yes, but I'm saying,
No.
once you guys pay off your debt, you're going to save up for that emergency fund, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Then what we would suggest that you do if you want to buy a home then is to save up baby step 3B for a 10 to 20% down payment and then start investing. I would not use baby step 3B to save cash and not invest in a Roth IRA. Okay. So I'm more on your side on it. I would go ahead and keep putting money away. Now, if you want to use, it would be baby step 4 is investing. And if you wanted to say, hey, we want to rent for 6 years and we're going to save up and write a check for a house in 6 years while we invest, you can totally do that. I think that that's a great idea. But I would not miss out on the investing to save up to pay cash for a house. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yes. Yes, it
does. I wouldn't because like you said, you guys are young. You have the time. A mortgage is the one type of debt we won't yell at you for. So if you did decide, hey, we are going to just do a down payment of 20%, go ahead and do the 15-year fixed rate, do the formula to buy a house the right way. That's great. You can do that. But if you guys were kind of more on the quote-unquote weird side, which we like weird people, and say, hey, we're going to rent a small apartment. We're going to live on nothing. And we for 8 years, we can save up X amount and pay cash for a house, but we're going to do that. That's awesome. And you've never had a mortgage in your entire life. Man. That would be great too. Logan. So either one of those is totally is great from our book. Yeah. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry. I know that was a long way around, but okay.
No, that's fine. It does. Yeah. Thank you.
And Logan, not to oversimplify this, but you're 19, she's 20. Y'all feel like you're 100 years old right now. And then when you turn 30, you're going to feel like, man, we're really young right now, right? And so it feels like if you mess this decision up, you might as well, you're not going to be able to start over. Your marriage is going to be off to a sideways start. Y'all are so far ahead of the average couple getting ready to get married. Man.
Yes.
You just need to stop and pause for a second. Y'all are crushing it. You're going to get married in a few months. You're going to be off to the races. And go slow, do it together, right? And Rachel's right. When you're 30, you're going to love that you have a retirement account that you started when you were 20, 21 years old. You're also going to love that you got a big chunk of a down payment, or that y'all went ahead and rented for a few more years and just started your whole new family tree with no mortgage at all.
That's
Man,
right.
that's going to be awesome. All right, let's go to Gary in Arlington. Gary, what is up?
Hey, what's going on, Dr. D and Rachel? How you guys doing?
Good. What's going on in your world, man?
Yeah, so I'm in pharmaceutical sales. I'm 27 years old. I paid off about $40K already in student loan debt.
Nice.
Way to go, brother.
I'm pretty much debt-free, but I got this car situation that I'm kind of hung up on. I have no idea what to really do. So my parents guided me into this lease of a RAV4 after I graduated.
Oh, no, Gary. Did we lose you?
I think we just lost you, Gary.
Oh.
Oh, there you are. You back?
Oh, yep, I'm here, guys.
Okay. All right. So your parents
talked you into a lease, the RAV4.
Yep, RAV4, paid off all the lease payments. So now it's like, do I save up this money? I got about $15K left. I got about $4K in savings. I'm starting to build up my emergency funds. But I'm just wondering, like, should I, like, build up and start saving to buy this car? Should I maybe take out a loan, pay it off, sell it, take that equity that I have left, and then maybe try to roll that into a car that's a little bit more affordable, since I am going to burn this car into the ground with how many miles I drive? So I'm just wondering, like, what I should do with this car. I feel like it's going to be a sunken cost if I don't, like, just keep on trying to, like, maybe save up for it, like, buy it. So I was just wondering what you guys thought.
Yeah, and the $15K is, what was that? You said I have $15K in what?
So the $15K is to buy the car. Like,
to buy
outright.
the car. Okay, I hear you.
Yep. So the lease payments are done. So I'm just like, what do I do with this? Like, I feel like I almost have a part of this car, but it's like I would just kind of hate myself if I just, like, gave it up. I would have to pay the mileage overage that I'm currently accumulating with this job.
How much is that? How much is the mileage over?
So I just passed it not too long ago. So the cap was at 36. I'm at like 38 right now. I think it's like 25 cents a mile after.
For 21? For 2021, you've already passed the cap?
Oh, no, this is a 2018 RAV4.
Okay. No, but I'm asking you, are you talking about for the year you've already passed your cap?
Or for the amount of the lease?
Or for the arc of the lease?
So over the 3 years, I was given 12K mileage per year, and I've already passed that. Like, I'm past the 36K that's been allotted for the lease.
So you're the lease is done, correct?
Lease is done. Okay. The lease payments are done. I would need until the end of this year, and that's when the lease is technically up, and that's when I need to make a decision. Am I buying this car? Am I going to turn it in?
Yeah.
Should I buy it and sell it?
Yeah. If you don't, Gary, if I didn't have the cash to go ahead and buy it, whatever if it's that $15,000 or less at the end of the year, depending on the lease payments, I wouldn't buy it. I would be done with it, even though you kind of take the hit, and then just start over, chalk that up as a mistake, and then go pay cash for another car.
Because that's
okay.
How far?
That'll be cheaper than $15,000.
What's your penalty going to be? Do you know?
Well, if I keep on driving it, like that 25 cents a mile is just going to start accruing. That's just going to be ridiculous, I think, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I'm trying to what should I do with this car? Like, do you guys think, like, taking out a loan and then, like, trying to sell it and then pay back the loan immediately once I sell the car and then do it?
No,
because I'm trying to, not
Yeah. No, I wouldn't advise that, because the only time I would take out a loan is if you were upside down in the car, not through a car lease, but a car loan.
You're trying to pay the gap off and get rid of the car.
That, yeah. So I would get out of the lease as soon as possible, Gary. If that's at the end of the year, do it, and then just scratch it up to stupid tax is what we call it around here.
And so you would pay that off and then go buy a car that's going to get you.
Yeah.
That's going to let you.
A used car, because you're going to run it into the ground anyways.
Yeah,
you don't need a brand new one. Yep.
Yeah.
Hope that helps, Gary. Sorry.
That's an expensive whap upside the head, huh?
Of that, yes.
Don't get a lease with a mileage cap if you're in a job that requires you to
drive.
Be a traveling salesman. Come on, parents.
You got it, Gary. You can do it, though. I believe in you.
It's a good clap. This is The Ramsey Show. 888-825-5225. Taking your calls on money and life. Let's go to Justin in New York City. Justin, what's going on?
Hi, guys. Nice to speak with you. I've been listening to Dave for a long time, and I've been focusing on my family, my wife and myself, and our income and getting our debts taken care of and such. But it took me a while to realize that my in-laws have been failing on their own. And I'm trying to get them to move out of their home and downsize to a smaller house. And having that conversation hasn't been going so well. And, my brother-in-law's been giving them money to take care of the mortgage for a while, and they can't afford the house they live in.
Yeah.
They do have equity in it, and I'm trying to get them to sell and cash out and then downsize. And I wanted to get your opinion on how to go about.
What's their reasoning, Justin, to stay in the home that they can't afford and they're having to take money from their son to pay their mortgage payment?
I don't quite understand all of it, but it's they've been in the house for 25 years.
Okay.
They've come to live in that lifestyle, and downsizing just, I guess, they think they will be looked down upon, I guess.
It's a hurt to their ego. It's like a kind of a little bit of an ego thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Not enough of an ego hit that they're going to take money from their children to keep this mirage
that's
up,
what
right?
I've been saying.
Yeah. So this is going to be hard to hear.
As a son-in-law, I don't get through it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's nothing you can do, man. I say nothing you can force upon them. You can be a kind person. You can have this one hard conversation where you are respectful and you treat them with dignity, and you take a more curious route. Hey, tell me about what the plan is moving forward. You're working on your legacy with their daughter and with whatever family y'all are going to have. It can become a curiosity thing, but, man, you can't walk in and make anybody do anything. And as you know, this isn't a math problem. When grown people start taking money from their kids, not for food, but for a fantasy, man, we have left the cognitive reasoning area, right?
Mm-hmm.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it, Justin. I mean, it's kind of it's a hard answer to your question, which is how do I convince my in-laws that they need to downsize? You can't convince them. I mean, I think that you can be a place to say you and your wife can choose not to enable that behavior. So if their son can't afford, it gets to a point where he can't afford the house payment, you guys can set a very clear boundary that we're not going to help you fund this lifestyle, and we will not be that backup. I mean, there's things, that you and your wife can have together to know this is how we're going to do our life and our marriage versus how they're doing it. But yeah, there is no convincing unless they're asking questions and want to know. So,
Justin, have you sat down with your brother-in-law and talked to him about his enabling of their lifestyle?
Yeah, I've been having that conversation as recently, and he gets it and he understands, but I don't know if he's assertive enough to, really go hard and cut them off.
Yeah.
To kind of direct them in the direction they need to go.
Well, I think for you, Justin, if there's one more thing you can do just for your own self, and tell me you're the therapist over there, but I mean, for you, because you and your wife, I'm sure, are concerned, and you hate this for them because it's eating up their money. They're having to take money. It's not a good situation. So for you two, because it's her parents, it's not your parents. So both of you, or even just her, to say, hey, mom and dad, and it's the last conversation we're going to have about it, but for myself, I just need to say out loud, I'm concerned about you guys. I hate that this is where life has taken you, and I see the writing on the wall. And I feel like you would have a better quality of life if this house wasn't sucking the life out of you and you can't afford it. So as your daughter, that's what I see. Whether you choose to take that or not, I just need to say that for myself. And then that's it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, anything you carry with you, Justin, and it's going to be hard for you to hear, is a choice to make your day worse, is a choice to make your marriage have conflict in it because you can't do anything about that conflict. Like Rachel said, you and your wife can talk about how firm your boundaries are going to be, not if, but when they come knocking on your door for money, how firm your boundaries are going to be if and when they lose this house because they run out of money and they're going to have to move in with you. Y'all can have those conversations now. But, man, there's no sense in just beating your head against the wall. It's not going to change. It's frustrating. And parents, don't rob your kids of their legacy because you're living in a fantasy world. Don't do that to your children. If you need money for food, if you need money for medical care, yeah, you call your family. if you think, wow, we got this really big house and it's important to us because we feel – don't do that to your legacy. Come on. All right, let's go to TJ in Nampa. TJ, what's going on?
Hi, Dr. D. Rachel. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thanks for calling in. What's up?
Well, I need a little bit further advice on what next to target on our debt snowball here.
You've got a genius sitting next to me, so you called the right place, brother. So what's up?
Well, wife and I, of course, didn't do the smart things. We were actually pretty dumb early on and took out a bunch of student loans going to college. And after we both graduated and were done with school, here we are. We ended up with, combined between the two of us, we got just over $100K in student loan debt. We wised up after we had a shocker when there was a kind of a family event that happened, and it forced us to move back in with my folks for about 3 years. But during that time, we paid off all of our unsecured debt other than just the student loans. And now we've finally started to climb back towards solvency, and we got the house that we've been in for about 3 years. We just recently refinanced it to get it down to a fixed 20-year. It was on a 30-year variable. And we owe about $140 on it right now. Payment on the house is just over $930. Payment on the student loans right now, most of them are IBR, and the rest, sum total is about $220. But that's not even enough to cover interest on the loan.
And so your question, TJ, is which one to pay off? You're asking the student loan or the house?
Right, because we're to the point now. Our vehicles are paid off. Our credit cards are paid off. We finally got smart and buckled down, paid off about $14,000 in credit cards.
Good for you guys.
Thank you. And then we also paid off both vehicles. But now we're just to the point where we want to know what to tackle next. If we tackle the house, it's not much more as far as the balance. But the strain on the budget is much greater.
I hear that, yeah.
It might help us to snowball the student loans. On the other hand, the student loans, the interest is killing us. It's actually the balances have gone up this year over last, even with our payments.
Yep, I hear you. Well, I'm going to stick to our rule of thumb, which is paying off all of your debt but your house. And so that student loan, it's the last one. And it's the hardest. Mathematically, it's the hardest mentally because it is a mountain to climb, right? You guys killed $14,000 in credit card debt. You're like, yeah, $100,000 is a lot. So is that $100,000? How many are there multiple loans within that number? I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's about 8 to 10
okay.
loans in
so
there.
What I would do, TJ, because there's almost a mental game to this. We always talk to people about when you're paying off debt that you need that momentum, right? And you guys kind of felt that. I could hear it in your voice. Yeah, we paid off $14,000 in credit card debt. Like you could feel it. So on a sheet of paper, I would map out, I would break out that $100,000. So instead of trying to tackle Everest, you kind of have these hills, right, that you're working towards. And that's going to continue guys on. So I would for sure tackle the student loan debt. And if you can break it up even just for your own sanity, I feel like that would be helpful as well.
When my wife and I had 6 figures of student loans, this sounds so cheesy, but we made little chains.
Yeah.
And they were of the little loans, right? And every time we got one, every month, we would tear one off. And some months I would just sit there, and we actually hung it in our bedroom. How's that for
That's romantic.
hot and heavy bedroom decor?
I bet Sheila was like, thank you, John.
Thanks, man.
That's all I wanted.
John, you really just know how to doll up a room. But some months you sit there and see it, and it just but you never forget it.
Right,
and then it gets smaller and smaller. But it's just eating that elephant one bite at a time.
That's right.
Oh, man, thanks for that call, TJ. Just keep plugging away. Little steps, little steps, little steps. You got this, you got this, you got this. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show. 888-825-5225. This is The Ramsey Show. I'm John Deloney, joined here with best-selling author Rachel Cruz, taking your calls on life and money. Let's go to Chilo in Los Angeles, California. Chilo, what's up?
Hello, how are you doing today?
Outstanding. How are you?
Good, good. I had a question. I have my daughter who's about to turn 19 this month. She has $2,000 put away, and she asked me how to invest it, and I have no idea how to tell her how to invest it. So I was wondering if I can get guided or some advice on how to help her with that, because I don't want to steer her in the wrong direction.
What's her name?
Her name's Camila.
Camila.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so considering her age, she's 19.
Mm-hmm.
Our advice usually for young people around this age is, it's going to sound cheesy, but it's just true. The best investment is in themselves. And so I think at a young age, depending upon what's her education like, is she going to go to a 4-year school? Is she going to university, or is she going to the workforce?
She's not sure yet what she wants to do, if she wants to go to school, if she wants to go to a trade school. She got really, what's the word I'm looking for? She basically got, when COVID hit, it really rocked her. She was supposed to graduate. She wasn't able to walk her.
Yeah.
Like that. So she's kind of like in a funk, so to speak, right now.
Yep, for sure.
And, you know, she's working, doing housekeeping with her mother's boyfriend. And the $2,000 that she has, she actually got it from that pandemic money that California was offering. And so she hasn't touched it. She says, I don't want to touch it. I don't know what to do with it, but I know I want to invest it. And so right now, you know, schools are barely going to be opening back up, so she doesn't know if she's going to be going to college or trade school or just work full time.
That's great. Well, I'll tell you, my advice would be, if she called me today, I would say $2,000 at her age, and with her seasons of life changing so much right now that she doesn't really have a firm plan. The best thing is just to keep it with cash in a really boring savings account or a money market account right now. Because number one, she may need that money if she chooses to go to school to help her with tuition. She may need that money if she wants to go into the workforce and get an apartment and start. I mean, $2,000 in the grand scheme of things, right, can be a pretty good boost for that 19-year-old. So, because when I think about investing for me is long term, which means 5 years or more. And while it's great mathematically to start as young as possible, again, having that cash available during all these random transitions that she's going to be occurring in the next probably 5 years of her life, having some cash to spare is a huge blessing. I mean, that's huge. So I would relay to her, hey, I wouldn't put it in the market right now, even though what you're thinking about is so good. Like the fact she's even thinking about investing at 19, props to her. You have a very smart daughter.
I was not.
But so
yeah, she's way different than Dad for sure.
It's great, and I think that's awesome. And I would encourage that in her, like that she's so smart. That's so good. But I would have it available for me at 19 to use during this transition period. And then once she's out of school, or if she goes to trade school, or she goes right into the workforce and she has a little bit of a steady stream of a season of life that she sees, and she says, okay, now I'm going to work to see if I can use this, if she has any debt, to pay it off, or to keep it for a fully funded emergency fund, and then look into retirement. So even though it's great to start early, mathematically speaking, it's much better to have cash available at 19.
I can't even tell you. I think I would smile for a month if my 19-year-old was like, hey, Dad, I got $2,000. That would make me smile. And on top of that would be, I'm thinking for the future, Dad. I would just
it's
weep
awesome.
and say I married well, because that didn't come from me. All right, Daniel in Orlando, what's up?
Hey, I just have a couple of, I guess, a multi-part question.
All right, go for it. What's up?
We're in, or just coming out of baby step 2, where credit cards are paid off. Cars, we're right at should have those paid off at the end of this month.
Congratulations, brother.
And then the only thing, appreciate it, the only thing left is our mortgage. That's the first part. Second part is we own our own business. And we do have a business loan, and we use credit cards at the business. I mean, I know even though we pay them off, we're looking at dropping those and just going, like Dave says, going with the debit cards. But I'm trying to figure out how to move forward. If we stuck to what we're doing now, we could probably have our home paid off by the end of this year. But I don't know if I should just go into the 15%, or do them all simultaneous, I guess, as far as retirement goes.
How much is your business loan?
Probably close to about $80,000.
$80,000. How much do you have left on your mortgage?
About $137,000.
Okay. Well, technically, with business debt, I mean, it is still your debt, right? Your name's on it. You're
Correct.
responsible for
Correct.
it.
And that's the conversation me and my wife are having.
Totally. So yeah, that's right. So I would go ahead and pay off the business loan.
Okay.
Because you said you'll be able to pay off your mortgage this year, which means you're going to have $80,000 this year to pay off that business loan. So I would go ahead and relieve myself of that, and then start looking at retirement, like you said, your 15% past that, and then just kind of chip away at the house. But that's the order I would do. Because the hard thing with business debt, again, is I feel like people function with two sides of their brain almost. They can like split it down the middle and say, well, that's my business side and this is my personal. But it's still you. Like
You still owe the money, right?
Yeah, you still have it. So
that's a conversation my wife's having with me.
it's a great conversation.
I mean, it's personal. I mean, it's still guaranteed by me.
Right. Exactly.
Or
So
us.
that's right.
Yeah, we're still guaranteeing it.
Which kind of stinks in a way, because at least if you're paying off your house, it's like you have a paid for asset for you personally.
Well,
it feels so
yeah,
personal, where the business again feels like this other part of your life, but it is your life. So I'd go ahead and pay off the business loan if I were you, Daniel.
And with that kind of income, you're
That's
flipping
right.
it, right? So
Yeah.
2 years from now, you're gonna have a paid off house.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a debt free business, right?
That's right.
And then you can start building up the business emergency fund, your home emergency fund. That's fantastic.
That's right. That's right.
Have you ever made a dumb decision with zeros on the end because you didn't do your research? Me too. Rachel probably has it. I have. Most people make choices based on feelings or opinions, especially when they're buying a house. People fall in love with a house as though it's a person, right? But when it comes to the real estate market, feelings are not your friend. Facts are. So check your facts. Find out what you can actually afford. Research what's trending in home prices. Talk to a reputable real estate person in your area. Never buy a house without the facts. Again, text HOUSE to 33789 and get an agent who will help you make smart decisions. That's HOUSE to 33789. Listen, Rachel, I used a Ramsey Real Estate ELP.
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. And here's why. I come from Texas where, they ask for $150,000 for a house, and you say, I'll give you $110,000. And they're like, pew, pew, pew. How about $140,000, right? And we all shake hands in the middle. In Nashville, that same house is $11 million, and they expect you to give $1 million over the asking price.
$12 million actually.
And write me a letter, and I want you to sing a song on our front porch. And will you go ahead and invest in my child's retirement account? I mean, it's like bananas. And so I had the first few houses we put offers on. Now I feel like an idiot. And my real estate agent, I'm a little bit loud and demonstrative, and I'm like, what? Come on.
John.
My ELP, she called and said, we need to have a talk about your expectations and about reality.
Oh, no.
And Rachel, her name's Amanda. She is incredible. She let me have it in the most professional, awesome way. Totally recalibrated my brain, kept my marriage intact, I think. And we ended up in an awesome house that took too long to buy because the Nashville market's bananas. But having that person who was trained and a person of integrity and who knew the market sideways and forwards and would say, this is a bad offer. We're not doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And would say, hey, this is a really good deal. This is what y'all are looking for. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Yep. So good. That's the thing about, I feel like, when it comes to our life, these parts of our lives that can be complicated and kind of intimidating. If there's people that work in them day in and day out, use it. Let them do it.
Have a professional in your back pocket at all times. It's awesome.
For sure.
Hey, another hour in the books. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you, James and Kelly and Bobby Bobertson. This is The Ramsey Show.
This is James Childs, producer of The Ramsey Show. Did you know The Ramsey Show is one of the most popular podcasts in the world? Subscribe or follow today wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is The Ramsey Show.
You can be intentional about your character. You can have money and a career.
You are the hero in your story.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studio. This is The Ramsey Show, where America hangs out to have a conversation about your life and your money. I'm John Deloney, joined here with my good friend and best-selling author, Rachel Cruz, and we are taking calls about your relationships and your money and your mental health and everything going on in your life. Give us a shout, 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Let's jump to the phones. Let's talk to Jennifer in Tampa, Florida. Jennifer, what's going on?
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. How are you guys?
We are outstanding. Thank you so much for giving us a shout. So what's up?
So here's the backstory. My husband and I make $140,000. We are saving for retirement, second baby on the way, have a college fund for our first child. We have about $20,000 in the bank. We have $15,000 emergency fund, baby step 6. We have $75,000 in a single stock. And our question is, we're wondering if we should invest in the stock market or if we should pay off our house. We have $200,000 left on our mortgage. The only issue is we know that we're probably going to want to move within the next 5 to 10 years. Not guaranteed, but we know that we would like to move. We don't believe in a forever house, but we don't think this is our long-term house.
Gotcha. Well, y'all are crushing it. Congratulations.
We are. We're very blessed. We've been listening to Dave Ramsey for a while.
That's so great. So you're wondering if you need to pay off the house?
Yeah, we're wondering, should we pay off the house? Should we save cash for our next house?
What is this single stock?
The district we want, we don't have to move. I'm sorry?
What's the single stock that the $75,000 is sitting in? Is it work-related stock? Is it stock available from your company, or is it you just guys went and bought a bunch of a stock? It was
the company my husband used to work for.
Okay.
So he's not investing anymore.
Okay.
Okay. And what other retirement do you guys have, Jennifer?
We're doing 15%.
You are currently doing 15%.
We have we have 401ks. Yep.
Okay, so you're doing that. Okay. So what amount of money are you wondering about? Are you wondering about the $75,000 that's in the single stock, or the $20,000 that's in the savings account just sitting there that's not the emergency funds, all of that? So I mean, you got about $100,000.
Yeah, we're wondering, should we take out the stocks? And it's been about 10 years since we've had that.
Okay.
Then, we have our emergency fund. We have $20,000 in the bank. We also transferred another $20,000 that's in a separate account that we're putting that towards the house every month.
Wow.
So should we just throw that all on the mortgage? So I guess we have $40,000 in the emergency fund.
In the emergency fund, yeah.
Cash.
That's great. Good for you guys. Yeah, well, obviously.
In the bank.
Yes. So
from the emergency fund.
Oh, separate. Yes. Well, obviously keep that emergency fund, the $15,000 that you said. I'm assuming that's your 3 to 6 months of expenses. Leaving that cash in the bank, and then everything else combined, that $40,000 in savings, I would that single stock I wouldn't keep in, especially since it's a company doesn't work for anymore. I mean, it's sort of a different story if you want to buy into the company you're in, all of that, but you guys are out of that, so I would take that out. And I mean, you could hit that house real hard, Jennifer. I mean, you could pay off half the mortgage with just that cash. And how old are you guys?
We're 32.
32, yeah. So you have time for retirement, and you guys are still funding 15%, which is awesome. I would continue that 15% out of your 140 income, and then I would take some of this and just throw it at the house, Jennifer. Because if you guys, how young you are, I mean, if you guys get to 36 with a paid-for home, retirement just going, I mean, you're in a real good spot.
And I would. Well,
I guess.
Go ahead.
I guess our only problem is that we think that we don't know, but we think we might move within the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh,
so
that's right. You said that.
To pay off the house. That's kind of our confusion.
So if I go back 5 years, that's 3 jobs in 2 states ago for me that I didn't see coming. If I go back 10 years,
that's actually for us too.
That's even more, right? So it's good to have this dream on the whole, like depending on the ups and downs of the real estate market, this money's not just going to evaporate on you. On the opposite side, you're going to have no house payment, 2 young kids. You're going to be able to be a lot more flexible with whatever comes your way. So I'm with Rachel, man. I would pay this house off ASAP, and you are way down the road on that. I would definitely sell that single stock.
Yeah, and even though you guys may be moving, you have a paid-for house. I mean, all that equity, it's not like that money's going down the drain. I mean, you've paid for a house, so when you sell, you get all the money.
You get all that.
I mean,
you get that money
it's
back.
there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yep, that's what we would do. Thanks, Jennifer.
You are
Thanks for the
crushing
call.
it. That's so good, man. All right, let's go to Ashley in Jacksonville. Ashley, how's it going?
Going good. How are you?
Good. How can we help?
Yeah, so I graduated with my bachelor's degree with 0 debt, and currently planning to start grad school in the fall.
What in?
In January. I'm actually looking at either English or humanities. I'm looking at a career in academia, so I'm trying to figure out where exactly I want to position myself.
Gotcha.
So in January, I bought a car and put half down, financed the rest. That's my first and only debt. So I currently have $30,000 in savings to cash flow grad school.
Awesome.
And I'm wondering right now, is it a smart idea to go ahead and just completely kill the car loan and pay that off before I start grad school, or should I kind of put that through?
How much do you have left on the car?
It's about $10,000.
$10,000. Okay. Yeah, I would go ahead and tackle the car because grad school you're going to have, obviously it's very expensive, but you have time, chunks of time, right, to pay it as you go. Where if you get this car out of the way, that debt, all your income can go towards, aka investing in yourself, Ashley. I mean, putting that money towards grad school to continue afloat. Which I believe you can do because I'm like, you went through undergrad, which you're crazy weird right now.
Yeah, you're
without
1 in a
student
million.
loan debt. How did you do that, Ashley? People are wondering that because everyone graduates with student loans. Everyone does. That's normal. How'd you do it?
Yeah. So I had really great supportive parents. So I lived with them for the first bunch of school. I actually went to to community college. I got 2 associate degrees through there and worked through school. So I was paying as I went. I also was able to get a pretty good GPA, so I got a scholarship to go to the university, and I actually was able to finish up university in only 3 semesters because I had done so much through the community college.
And your degree is from the university that you wanted, and you paid
very cool
fraction of it because of what you did. Ashley, you're so smart. So smart. Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Pay that car off. And before, my mom is an English professor. Those jobs are hard to come by these days. So before you go to grad school, sit down with a person who works in that field and get some real life information about what that lifestyle is like, what the money on that life is going to be, and what the day-to-day is going to be. It's usually different than people think it is.
The ROI.
It's a hard
what you're
life.
getting
It's
at,
a hard life. Beautiful. We need good English professors, but it's tough.
Hey folks, I got a great option to help you pay for your education. The Army National Guard. The Army National Guard believes you are the next greatest generation because you have proven that even in adversity, that you have what it takes to succeed. That's why they offer benefits like tuition assistance, career training, and a paycheck to help you avoid debt. No matter what your goals are, the Army National Guard can help you get there. Visit nationalguard.com to find out more.
Triple 825-5225. This is the Ramsey Show. I'm John Deloney, joined here with Rachel Cruz, Ramsey personality, taking your calls on life and money. Find out for yourself why Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window covering. You get free samples, free shipping, and with the new promos they run every month, you'll save even more. Use promo code Ramsey to get the best deal. Rules and restrictions apply. Rachel?
Today's question comes from Herb in New York. I'm a history professor at an expensive private university. Students from my department will most likely not go on to make a six-figure income, as most of them want to teach. Part of my job is to recruit students into my department, but I cannot in good conscience tell them to take out loans. I know most of them do because they couldn't afford private tuition otherwise. What do I say to students to get them to my department, but at the same time being realistic that my major is maybe not the best thing for their financial future?
That's a hard one.
John, what do you think?
Whoa, man. Well,
that's hard.
For this particular person, the values of their institution, the values of the place that pays for their paycheck is not in line with the values that sit on his pillow every night. And one of the questions I would have if Herb was just hanging out here and we were having a cup of coffee and he's asking me the same question, it would go deeper than that for me, because he's doing a good job of distancing himself from this issue and making it a moral and ethical issue for them, not for him. The reality is his business is supported by something he didn't believe in. So it's not so much as you can flip this around, right? He doesn't want students to go into debt, and he's having a hard time encouraging them to take on debt to get a degree that he knows they're going to struggle to pay back.
Yep.
But deeper than that, where I want to challenge Herb is, you're taking a salary from a company that doesn't align with your values. And he's got a hard question. He's taking care of these students, but he's not really getting to the root of the question.
Yep.
Which is, do I believe in where I even work? And we've taken calls on this show like, hey, I wanted to work in finance my whole life, and I got my first job out of college at a local bank, and all I'm doing is selling loans, right? And I spent all this time getting out of debt, and I don't think I can keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
And so I think everybody has to have that hard conversation. Does what put food on my table align with my values?
Yep.
And you don't always have to go running for the hills, right? Like, well, I got to quit today and I'm going to...
Sure.
But I do think that's a worthy conversation to have. Herb, I'm going to tell you, I know a number of people. I've had this exact conversation with a number of my friends across the United States. Some of them have said, I've got to get out of working in higher ed. I can't keep doing this. Some have made a transition from a private, expensive private school to a community college. Some of them have just said, man, this is what it is, right?
Yep.
The students are grown-ups. They can choose to make this decision on their own, and we're going to keep plowing ahead. The value proposition is different from everybody. But, man, Herb, you're not going to be able to sleep. I'm telling you right now based on that question.
Yep.
What do you recommend to folks who are balancing, I don't believe in where I work anymore?
Because it's a complete mind shift, right?
Yeah.
From what you saw was okay and normal to suddenly realizing in probably his own life, oh wow, I hate debt, I'm going to get out. Well, and now I'm here ushering
a new generation
right into it, knowing that they're going to get jobs that aren't going to even support them financially to pay off the debt. Like,
well, and if you're any kind of professor, who obviously Herb's good at what he does just because of the depth of this question, you talk to students all day long.
Yeah.
And you hear what's on their heart and mind. Yeah. And what's number one on their heart and mind is, I'm never going to be able to pay this back. Ever. I'm never going to be able to pay this back.
So this is probably a bigger question that you can answer, but you worked kind of in this sector in life. Like you've
for a long time.
Yeah, you've been a part of it. So how do we, and again, it's a bigger conversation, but prop the next generation and say, yes, education is good. And we need people in all these fields, right? Like the last call we just took was about an English professor. Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about wanting to be an English professor.
Yes, and all of that, and the ROI, and going to school and grad school and all of that. And you mentioned, just make sure you talk to someone that's been in that world so you know. So, like, how do we keep all of that? Because we need that in our society. Like, we need English professors. We need people that are getting degrees in fields that are not supported financially. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but the degree is
yeah.
so expensive. Like, it's just, it feels like not a lost cause, but it's defeating.
It's
sitting in our seat because I'm like, man, you believe in all that stuff and you love the people in those institutions and they're great, but it just feels like it's broken.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to is I am somebody who believes deeply that we have let go the arts. We have let go English. We have let go the ability to read and discern. Some of these problems we're having now, writers have been writing on this stuff for hundreds, if not thousands of years, right? But we don't teach history anymore. We don't teach some of these things anymore because it's all about ROI. What's the ROI on this job? You get a coding job. So I think we lose something. I really, really do.
Yeah.
And you can't charge $150,000 for a job. It's a bad
So you're going to make
investment.
$40,000.
That's right. You can't do that. So I think it's both and. I think
Yeah.
everybody in this conversation has to put it on the table.
Sure.
And I will say I know a number of higher ed leaders that are trying to fix it from the inside out. I know a number of tech companies that are trying to solve it from the outside. And we all got a great lesson this last year. Man, just throwing everything online isn't going to solve it either. That has been miserable. And we also learned a lot. How can you make online learning better? Because it could be cheaper. But you're right, it's a mess.
Yep.
Right? And we need some grown-ups to stop acting like kids and actually say we're going to be a part of some of these solutions. And there's some really bold higher ed leaders who are making some major changes. There are some bold tech folks who are weighing in. So I think we're going to see some significant shifts. And I hope, for the sake of our kids, it's not at the expense of reading and history and music, but it's at the expense of, man, it's not a 4-year vacation anymore.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
That was a moment in history.
That's what's wild is that the 4-year institution, college, as what we knew when we went, probably it is what it is. It was affordable. You could, you know what I mean? All of it. I mean, and not that you can't still go to school debt free. We just got a call from someone that did.
You can figure it out. You can do it.
You can. But it's it has shifted. And bring in 2020 when most of the universities were closed and it was online.
You have to figure it out. Yeah.
It's just. I mean, it's wild.
And
it's a shifting.
We don't have
world.
a solution. If however many millions of 18-year-olds just hit the job market tomorrow in 19 and we can't absorb that either, right? So it's not as simple as close all the college. That's a bad decision too, right?
Sure.
And so it is going to take some leadership, which is the key here, and some people being really honest about what tomorrow's going to look like, and some people not getting what they want, et cetera, et cetera. And that brings us back to Herb, right? Herb, you're going to have a hard conversation with the mirror, my brother, and not only about these students. You're going to have a hard conversation about where does your income come from. Do you align with the values of where you draw a paycheck from, and can you do what your job asks you to do? And if your job is asking you to do something that violates your core value system, you got to find a job, man.
Yep.
You got to.
And that's not just higher ed either.
That's what I'm saying. It's every job I can think of, right?
Yep. That's it. And
or you work at a gas station and you get a new manager that asks you to do stuff, right? It's everywhere. You got to have those core set of values and say, this is where my line is.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah. Which is part of knowing yourself. And that's a lot of the stuff you talk about.
You got to know yourself.
Is the self-awareness of that. I mean, like, it's huge, understanding why you do the things you do.
That's right. And where you come, you talk about it too. I think all of us distill down to this idea of you got to be intentional. You got to be intentional.
That's right.
All right, Russell, let's go to Russell. I'm just going to say Russell about 8 times here. Russell in Virginia Beach. What's up, Russell? How are we doing?
Hey, how are y'all today? I appreciate you taking my call.
Oh, hey, brother, listen. I messed up the clock here. Hang on here, and we're going to roll you over, and we'll get you right after this break. I should have just kept talking for a second.
I tried to extend this a little bit, John. I'm not going to lie. I thought, I talk about self-awareness. Can we talk about self-awareness for 30 seconds?
We'll get there.
Russell, we'll come to you soon.
We'll be right back, Russell. This is The Ramsey Show. 888-825-5225. We're taking your calls on life and money. I'm John Deloney, joined by Rachel Cruz. We're going back to Russell in Virginia Beach. Russell, what's going on, brother? Russell, are you there, my man?
Yeah, I'm here.
One of the key things about answering the phone is actually picking it up, so sorry about that. So what's up, man?
I'm definitely here. Hey, I'm seeking some advice today.
Go for it.
I'm quickly approaching about 35 years of service in the Navy.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. It's been an awesome experience. So recently bought a home when we transferred back to Virginia. The home was about $500,000, and my wife and I have no credit card or car loans. The home is really it, and so we've done pretty well. We've got about $400 in mutual funds, which we continue to invest in. We've got another roughly $230 between Roth IRA and Roth TSP, and continue to contribute to that. We've got about $115 in cash. So my question is it a smart move, knowing that I'm going into retirement at least from the military, and to take a large chunk of money, say $300,000 out of my mutual funds to put on the house, which would allow me to pay the house off by like 2029.
If you pulled out the three, how much do you owe on the house total today?
$490.
$490. Okay. Now, all the mutual funds you just rattled off, a lot of them were Roths. So are they all retirement-specific mutual funds?
No. The 400 of it is just mutual funds.
Oh, it's just a mutual fund. Okay. So no penalties if you cash that out. There's no retirement penalties there.
No, I guess just tax, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Russell, if I were you, if you wanted to take a chunk and throw it at the house, because your other retirement, I mean, you have some other retirement, the ones you just named off.
My first year out of service, my retirement will be $80,000 take home.
Okay. Yes, I would if I were you. Again, I would not take out, for those listening, I would not cash out retirement in order to pay off the home.
Yeah, no, I wasn't planning on touching that. But
exactly. But the mutual fund, I mean, you have $400 in it. Yeah, you could take a chunk of it and throw it at the house, because a goal, obviously, is to pay off the home and to be able to, you'll be getting that $80,000 from your service, and you have these other vehicles for retirement, which you can live off of as well. So having a close to a paid for home in that
big time
is huge.
So Russell, I'm curious. 30 years in the service, and now you're transitioning out to become a civilian. What are you gonna do?
That's the $1 million question. I have some ideas. I have a side hustle. I breed snakes. So that.
Whoa! Hey, that's what my little brother does. My brother does that too.
Yep, I've been doing it for about 20 years.
Okay.
What kind of snakes, Russell? I want to know.
It doesn't make a lot of money, but it brings in about 20 a year.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a pretty good gig.
Do you use real live mice or frozen ones?
Oh, gosh.
Frozen.
There you go. That's a true breeder right there. We could really get off the rails on this conversation, Russell. I like you, man.
We could.
But yeah,
so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm 100% with Rachel. I love the idea of you having that great military pension, which you've earned every penny of, and having a paid-for house or really close to a paid-for house. And, man, getting to jet set off whatever the rest of your life's going to be. Having the greatest reptile sale online salesman in the country, man. Russell the Snake Man. I love it. All right, let's go to Maggie in San Diego. Maggie, what's going on?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I'm new to the program, so I'm just starting off in the baby steps. I'm on number 2.
Welcome
short,
to our band of weirdos, Maggie. We're glad that you're here.
Thank you. So I moved in with my aunt to be her full-time caregiver.
Okay.
And 3 years ago, she put my name on her house. We did a grant deed. But now I'm debating if I should sell my house, since the house prices are skyrocketing right now, in order to pay off her house as well as pay off the rest of my debt. Because if I keep the house, my house, I could use it as an investment, later on down the line and have that as a secure monthly income. But if I sell it off now, that's like a quick way to kind of get ahead.
Sure. Maggie, how much debt do you have that you want to pay off?
The only debt I have is my car payments for my kids, and that's about $28,000.
$28,000.
Car payments for your kids. Why aren't they paying their own car payment?
Well, I did make a promise to my kids before they went off to college that I'd buy them a car so they wouldn't have to worry about transportation. So, I'm still making the payments on those.
All right. That's another phone call.
That's another phone call. Maggie, so you have those car payments, $28,000, and that's it, except for your aunt's home that you are now on the deed of. And how much is the home?
Her house there's probably about $130,000 left on her house. On my house, that I'm not even living in right now, my husband is there pretty much by himself, is about $280,000 left that we owe on that.
280. And how much is it worth? How much equity would you get from it?
It's worth about $600,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how much is your aunt's house worth?
Probably about $550, something like that.
500. Okay. And so your husband is in your home.
Yeah. So does he want to move in with your aunt? Is he on board with this?
He doesn't want to, but he's going to have to.
Well played.
Well played.
That sounds like y'all should probably have a breakfast together and talk about this. What's the plan here for? Is your aunt terminal? Are you planning on
taking over the home after? Yes.
Is she gonna have to move to a care at some point, to skilled nursing or something?
We're going to take care of her here because I am a nurse, so she'll get the best care for me. So.
And is there any other family drama that doesn't like this, that are sending you mean notes about it, or is everybody happy that, hey, you take the house, you take aunt, and we're going to move on?
Yes, sir. Everyone's okay with it. I mean, they know I'm the closest one to. That's why she did a grant deed when her husband died, so we wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
It's been
my hesitation, Maggie, is you putting your money on a home that the deed is split. So it's not your entire home. It is her home. So that feels a little messy to me. I would rather it be her home or your home that you take over and you say, I'm going to just, that you're, aunt, you're sick. You don't need the burden of this. I'm going to just buy it from you. And there'd be a clean line there. So that's one conversation I would probably have, Maggie. This feels a little bit convoluted with both of you on the deed. I don't really care for that. But also, if you're not living in the house and you guys are going to be living with your aunt for the foreseeable future, you don't need your other home. Right. But you also the car payments are $28,000, which is a lot, but you could work and pay that off, keep the home, rent it out, do something with it because it has great equity. So it's basically like, do you want to mess with the home? Do you not? Because if you had $150,000 in student loan debt, this probably would be a different conversation. But the $28,000, you probably could put the pedal to the metal and get it paid off quick and still have your home if you wanted to keep it. Or you could say, it's not even worth the trouble messing with renters, any of that. We're going to just cash out, get the equity out, pay off that and have a big chunk of change in the bank, which feels good to me as well.
What's the status of your marriage?
Well, that's a whole other conversation, sir.
Okay.
We're like I said, I just started with the baby because we've been married for 21 years. We've never mixed our finances ever.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But that's something that I do want to start doing now.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
I just felt like it was a waste to,
have that second house. I totally get that. It's not uncommon that couples who have been in your situation, had parallel lives, they've been married for a long time, they've had a great relationship, but they haven't been fully together. Then one of them goes to be a primary caregiver for somebody else, and the whole thing comes unglued. So I want you to go get with your husband, and y'all have some hard conversations about what the next 20 years are going to look like. You guys got to do this together, otherwise you're going to end up all by yourself, and I don't want that for either of you, okay? Be thinking about your marriage. Hang in there, Maggie. This is The Ramsey Show.
Our scripture of the day comes from Daniel 10:14, and came to make you understand what it is to happen to your people in the latter days. For the vision is 4 days yet to come. Never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass away. Earl Nightingale. Oh, that's kind of deep. Hold on. Let's hear that again. Never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass anyway.
Yeah, so
it's going to pass anyway.
We
So might as well put it toward a dream.
There's a couple that my wife knows back in Texas, and they were talking about, they were like 35, and they were chit-chatting with one another, and they were both like, man, we both wanted to go to med school and be doctors. And they went and talked to somebody, and the person said, well, here's the deal. You're going to be 42 anyway. The question y'all aren't asking is, do we go to med school or not? It's, when you're 42, do you want to be doctors or not?
Yeah.
And it's going to happen that way,
Right,
so
right.
why not, right? What is the obsession with it? So I love that quote, man. Figure it
So
out.
good.
And
So good.
both my parents have made major shifts later in life, and it's just adds this whole new universe, right?
I was going to say, I think that's a fun story. When I hear people that, they get to their 50s or 60s, like, you know what, and they just, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, they just started this whole new life. Like
A
they still
whole
have,
new
and,
life.
and it's almost how you see it, right? That it's not the end.
No.
You're just,
I just want to slide in the end with no tread left on the tires.
Yeah,
man,
that's right. That's right.
All right, let's go to Bethany in Scranton, Pennsylvania, home of The Office. How are we doing, Bethany?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you an Office fan, or do you get beat up with that all the time?
Hey, my husband turned me into an Office fan.
Well, you married well.
Before
Way to
we
go,
lived
Bethany.
in Scranton. Thank you.
You married well. So what's up? How can we help?
Thank you. I have a quick question. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband and I have been on baby steps, 4-ish, for a while. We're just not quite at the 15%. And I was just wondering if you would ever recommend lowering that 15% just so that we can have some movement in baby steps 5 and 6.
How old are you guys, Bethany?
I am 33. We're both 33.
Okay. And how much do you guys make?
My husband makes a little under $50,000 a year.
Okay. And you're a stay-at-home mom, you said.
I am.
Yes. So the mathematical reason for the 15% is that it will guarantee that you will get to retirement with dignity, that you will have the money to be able to live your dreams and all of that. And so that 15% we stick pretty hard on just to ensure that that's going to happen. But you guys, for the income and for your house specifically, because your kid's college, you're not a bad parent if you don't pay for your kid's college.
No,
like
not
we've
at
talked
all.
on here that you can send them to school. They can do community college for a few years, transfer to a state school. Like they can have a great, and honestly, by the time your kids are in college, as we've been talking, who knows what that world is going to look like.
Right.
So if you don't have the cash to be able to invest right now in your kid's college, you're not a bad parent. But looking ahead at the house, how much do you guys owe on the house?
I think around 86.
Around 86, okay. Yeah, so I would, if I were you, Bethany, I would stick with that 15% for a little bit longer, and then just I would almost start, because of your income and everything, start chipping away a little bit at the house. If you have any to throw towards an ESA or something, it would be very helpful for your kids. I mean, that's in the order of the baby steps for sure. But it's just going to be a little bit at a time. Like it may not just be this huge, it's not this huge shovel that you have that you're throwing all this money at and all that, right? I mean, like you guys are having to be very, very diligent to do it all.
Right.
But that is what I...
That was my question, Rachel. Bethany, what's your husband do?
My husband's a pastor.
He's a pastor there?
Awesome.
Is there
He is.
a potential for him to pick up some additional income on the side for a few years to knock that house out?
He could. If someone is going to be driven in our house to do it, it would probably be me.
Okay.
So we're just, not that he's not driven, but he's carrying a lot of hats.
Gotcha.
Just he's the only pastor on staff.
Yep.
And
Which
he
means
just has
he's the
a lot of hats,
pastor
so-
and plumber and yard guy and hospital chaplain.
What's y'all's
and all of it.
take-home pay, Bethany, a month? How much y'all make a month?
A month? just shy of $4,000, I think.
And how much is that mortgage
including,
payment?
Oh, it's around $650.
Okay. Yeah, it's not terrible at all.
Yeah,
Like the percentage.
And Bethany,
we're trying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, y'all are really trying.
You're doing it.
There's been seasons of my life when they've been just that, which are seasons, right?
Yeah.
Which are we can continue to, somebody stay home. We're going to keep in this job, and we can do it for this season, for the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. And then there becomes the math problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
We either have to get to a point where we can pay this off, or we have to get to a point where we can reach that retirement goal, right? Otherwise, and you're going to continue. You're going to find yourself 43 and 53, and you're going to be in a very similar boat, right? And you're not going to be any further towards any of these goals at all, right? And that's a hard place to be. Good for you and your family, though, for having your values and knowing who you are and what you want to be about, and then going to make it happen.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of that contentment issue too, Bethany, because unless something changes with his salary as a pastor or something drastic, I mean, the numbers are, and I think, God's called you to this place. If that's what you guys are in it for a reason. I believe in that discernment in your life and your husband's life that you guys have chosen this, because you're called to it. And so it's just there's going to be a level of contentment, that you're probably going to have to find as a stay-at-home mom too. I can just speak as a wife, right? Like, I mean, you're on Instagram and Facebook and see it all. And so there's just a level of saying, hey, God has us here for a reason, and it's not going to be big and flashy. We're not going to pay off the house in 2 years. I mean, that's not going to be the story, but that's okay. That's okay. But you guys are staying diligent, being smart with the money that you do have. And so you guys are doing great.
As somebody who, we've had this in our home, you've had to make decisions like, am I going to take this speaking gig for this much money?
Oh, sure.
Am I going to stay at home?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And there's a real, true cost to my values are here, right? Whatever they may be, right? And it's getting to that. How do you help somebody get to that contentment? Because I struggle with that.
It's hard.
I made this choice, but living with what that choice means, it can be hard.
Yes, very much so. I mean, I feel like gratitude is one of the first places to start. And I know it's kind of like the cheesy answer, but it's true. But it's Christine Kane. I love what she says. She says that gratitude is not thankful for what he's given us. It's to be thankful for what he's entrusted to us.
Gotcha.
So everyone's life looks different of what I believe in a spiritual sense, right? God has entrusted to you and what you have. And so being grateful for that, I think a level of it is humility and giving and serving and knowing that the world's not all about you.
Yeah.
And that you looking up to say, okay, what can I do to serve and help people? And Bethany, y'all's entire life is that you're one of service, and it's an amazing calling. So there's a lot of that, and then I think there takes a level of maturity too.
Yeah.
Emotional and spiritual maturity, right? To be able to kind of say, okay, we're here. It's not always fun.
I'm choosing to stay at home. I really want to go out to eat tonight.
Right.
But we made this choice.
That's right.
And not beating yourself up when you have those secondary thoughts, right?
Yes.
Why can't we just go to Florida like everybody else? Because we chose this.
Yep.
And you can have both and.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's right. And it's hard. I remember I had two sets of friends, and two were lawyers here in Nashville and just working insane hours.
Yep.
I mean, like, kids were in daycare. She had mom guilt. It was terrible. But they were doing it because they said at the end of it, or like, we'll get to a point where we don't have to work these hours, but we're going to make a big income so that we can take our kids on vacation. We want them to have experiences, whatever it is. So they valued that, right or wrong.
Right.
People probably have opinions, but that is what they chose. Where I had another friend, 4 kids. He's a teacher, history teacher and coach. She stays at home.
Yep.
So talk about a tight budget.
And they just figured it out.
And they said, yeah, we know we can't do all these things, but this is what we're choosing. And that's the beautiful thing about all of this. There's a level of choice that we have of what you value. When you live out of those values, that's where the joy and contentment can come.
And it goes back to contentment, right?
Chasing it someone else's that doesn't work for you.
Well, that's another show in the books. I want to thank James Childs and Kelly Daniel for their incredible engineering work and call screening action. Thanks to my good friend Rachel Cruz. This has been The Ramsey Show.
Hey, it's Kelly, associate producer and phone screener for The Ramsey Show. If you would like to do your debt-free scream live on the show, make sure you visit daveramsey.com/show and register. We would love for you to come to Nashville and tell your story.